I've been to a lot of weddings. I've been in a couple of weddings. I hope to go to a few more in the future. Not too soon, some of you, please.
I've got a surprise for you.
And for some of you, I hope sooner than later. That's all I'm saying.
I'm good.
Well, I have had the privilege of giving my sister away at her wedding.
What'd you get for her?
Several more.
I've also had the privilege of being the person who gave my mother away at her second wedding. And in all of these weddings, half of them, I've heard these words. The preacher would say, let me find them. I had it here a second ago. For where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death departs me from you. And I'm like, wow, it's a great words of commitment that a man and a woman would share that kind of relationship. And then I found about the book that's from, and who said it to who?
Ruth said it to Naomi.
Yeah, Ruth said it to Naomi. Ruth said it to Naomi. I'm like, what? I don't, yes, that's just, you know, and we use that for a marriage ceremony. Interesting. But there's something to it. Last semester, we started a journey I never finished on purpose. We started the journey of digging into the genealogy of Jesus and figuring out all the scars and the good things and the bad things of his family. And we've talked about adulterers, we've talked about murderers, we talked about idolaters, we talked about some forms of incest. And we've talked about prostitutes and good-hearted women and men. And all of these are in the family line of Jesus, right? But I saved this one for this time of year because this is one of the greatest love stories in the Bible. It's the book of Ruth. So if you haven't caught up to me yet, that's where I'm coming out of tonight. And the book of Ruth is a great book. Ruth is one of the 5 women mentioned in the genealogy of Jesus. 5 women. 4 or 5 women? Yeah. Yeah, you know, we have the wife of Uriah, Bathsheba, who was in an adulterous relationship with King David. We have Rahab, the prostitute. We have Mary, the mother of Jesus. There were only 4 women, I think.
Esther.
No, she wasn't in the movie.
Okay.
And then we have Ruth, who married Boaz. If anybody's checking me online for facts, I don't know if it's 4 or 5, so that's okay. And now we have Ruth. And Ruth is in itself a story of redemption. And I've struggled with this book. I struggled with this whole concept, this whole tonight's sermon and next week's sermon. I've been struggling with because I've researched things and I've looked at other things and I've looked at other people's sermons to see where they went. Yes, we preachers, we look at other guys' sermons just to make sure we're reading things right or want to steal their ideas. It happens.
Only plagiarism if it's published.
Right. Or posted on YouTube. And I did not find any stuff that I liked, or anything that I wanted to go with, or anything that seemed fitting for our situation. So we're going to read the story of Ruth. I'm not going to read you the whole story tonight. Matter of fact, we're going to stretch this out in a couple weeks, at least 2. But tonight we're going to look at Ruth chapter 1. And we're going to see a story of commitment. And why is it a story of redemption? Redemption in its essence is giving value to something that's otherwise not valuable at all. $1 is only worth $1 because we give it the value of $1. I got a check from somebody the other day for $200. It's only worth $200 because the bank is going to give value to that. It's giving value to things. So with that in mind, let's begin the story. It starts off, as most biblical stories do, with a famine. Great way to start things off. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. And a man of Bethlehem in Judah went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. The name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi. And the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. And they were Ephrathites from Bethlehem in Judah. They went to the country of Moab and remained there. But Elimelech, the husband of Naomi, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. These took Moabite wives, and the name of one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. They lived up there about 10 years, and both Mahlon and Chilion died, so that the woman was left without her 2 sons and her husband. Setting the scene. Famine in the land, so they go somewhere where there's food, right? They settle in a town called the land of Moab. A little backstory of Moab. There's part in the Word of God, in the history of Israel, where God said, have nothing to do with Moab. Don't have anything to do with Moab. Why? Well, because there was a time where Israel was in trouble. They needed help. And they called out to Moab for help. And Moab said, no, can't help you. We're not going to get involved with this. And because of their lack of involvement, because they didn't help, not because they hurt Israel, just because they didn't help Israel, God said have nothing to do with Moab. So we have this guy moving into this town where God said don't go to this land, where God said don't go back there again. Another thing about Moab, I'm telling you everything I've learned about Moab, because I learned things, I studied things, I read things, I told you, and I figured all these things out. I just discovered today Moab is the place where Moses died. And they carried him into the land. So Moab was the last stop before they entered the Promised Land. And apparently the Promised Land had a famine, but Moab was fine. So Elimelech and his wife were going to a place that they shouldn't be, that God said have nothing to do with. And his sons find wives that are Moabites, Ruth and Orpah. So Ruth, to start things off with, is somebody that God's people should have had nothing to do with at all. Wow. So now we have added to the list of people in Jesus' ancestry, an outcast, a worthless human being, according to the Israelites. And here's another thing that happened. Naomi had her kids and her husband died. In Jewish culture, back in those days, the man gave value to the woman. A widow was almost worthless. She had no hope. An unmarried woman was worth nothing. Sorry, ladies. I apologize. But according to Jewish culture, if you didn't have a wife, or if you're a woman, if you didn't have a husband, you were nothing. And if your husband died, you fell back into nothing. Of course, God commanded the people to take care of the widows and orphans, so there's hope for you. God took value in you. But other than that, there was no value to you whatsoever. So her husband dies. And I guess in Moab, there's a sudden male death syndrome happening, because it doesn't tell us why he dies. And then her sons get daughters, or her sons have wives. I'm messing everything up tonight. I'm sorry. And don't edit that out. Just leave it in there. Just put it on the blooper reel later.
They were somebody children.
Her sons marry and give her daughter-in-laws. Well, so, like I said, the sudden male death syndrome in Moab occurred, and Mahlon and Chilion both died. No reason. I'm sure there's probably there's a disease or a war or something. Regardless, Naomi has been widowed and she buried her 2 sons. And all she's stuck with are 2 Moabite daughters-in-law, whatever. And 3 widows living in a house. Wow.
It's a great setup to a joke.
Or a reality series.
Or a reality TV show. So 3 worthless women, pretty much. 3 worthless people.
Oh, so it was a cold girls.
I'm not going to touch that one with a 10-foot pole.
Thank you.
So there we go. What do? They're hanging out in Moab. And verse 6. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law to return from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the fields of Moab that the Lord had visited his people and given them food. So she set out from the place where she was with her 2 daughters-in-law, and then went on the way to return to the land of Judah. But Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, return each of you to your mother's house. May the Lord deal kindly with you as you have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant that you may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. And she kissed them, and they lifted up their voices and wept. In Moab, these girls had a chance. In Moab, these 2 young ladies could have had a chance to be redeemed by people in their family, by somebody else. They could have found another husband in Moab. And they would have seen and still have been worth something there. Naomi knew that she was heading back home to Judah. Naomi knew that if she took these 2 girls with her, she knew she was too old to have another husband. She was too old to get married again. And she knew that these girls would be looked down upon because they weren't Jewish. They weren't Israelites. They weren't Hebrews. So they would have been foreigners and widows. 3 X's. You know, we've got the whole woman thing, and they got the whole widow thing, and now they're foreigners in another land. They're going to be, let's save them the hassle. You guys stay here at home. I'm going to go and back to my home, and I'm going to live the rest of my days. So, good point, good plan. And they said to her, No, we will return with you to your people. But Naomi said, Turn back, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Have I yet sons in my womb that they may become your husbands? Turn back, my daughters, and go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, even if I should have a husband this night and should bear sons, would you therefore wait till they were grown? Would you therefore refrain from marrying? No, my daughters, for it is exceedingly bitter for me, for your sake, that in the hand of the Lord has gone out against me. And they lifted up their voices and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her.